we're going to start with 10B. I didn't have my reading glasses on, which is actually the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee recruitment process, and we have Resolution 17-3 for our consideration. And I do believe we're going to have a staff presentation by Laura Simpson, our planning manager. Or Robert Avidier will be doing it. Okay.
I'm stepping in. So,
very good. Thank you, Robert.
thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and public at home, and public that we have here tonight. I am Robert Ovadia, the city engineer for the city of Concord, and we're here tonight presenting for your consideration the formation of a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee for the city of Concord. And so, as a matter of background, we have a few city policies that have alluded to the creation of a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee, and there are certain grants that, as we apply, require review of applications by a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee. And so the first policy is our Complete Streets policy, which the council adopted in 2012. Expressing the city's commitment to creating and maintaining complete streets here in the city of Concord. And that policy directed that once formed, the BPAC would be available to review transportation projects and provide recommendations regarding complete streets features. The other policies were developed as part of the Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Safe Routes to Transit Plan that was adopted in September of last year. It recommended the formation of a Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee composed of 5 members appointed by the City Council, that committee would review and provide input on capital projects as they affect walking and bicycling, that they can be a liaison between staff, local government, and the public, that they would be able to develop and monitor goals and benchmarks related to walking and bicycling, as well as to promote bicycling and walking here in the city of Concord. So consistent with those policies, we are recommending that the City Council approve the formation of a Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee with the primary roles of reviewing transportation capital projects with respect to Complete Streets policy and the Bicycle Pedestrian Safe Routes to Transit Plan, review annual reports regarding implementation and progress of the plan, as well as provide input on grant applications and other policies as requested by staff. The composition that is proposed for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is 5 members representing all roadway users, with at least 3 of those members being residents here in the city of Concord, and up to 2 being employed here in the city. We also are recommending that a transportation professional be represented on the committee. And though we are looking for 4-year terms, we're looking at the initial terms being staggered so that we have a rolling membership makeup. So 2 of the initial terms will be 2 years. The other 3 would be 4 years, and then in 2 years we'd recruit for the 2 members that were 2 years would convert to 4-year membership, so that we would roll membership. And so as far as staffing and meetings, we're looking at meetings being held quarterly or more frequently as needed, and it would be staffed by the engineering division. We have been recruiting a management analyst, and that management analyst would act as the staff liaison for the committee. And so we're recommending that the council adopt Resolution 17-3, forming a 5-member BPAC, and authorizing the city clerk to make an announcement for the recruitment with an application deadline of February 17th. So with that, I conclude my presentation.
I'll ask if there's any questions of staff at this time on their presentation. Councilmember Leone.
In listening to you, the qualifications for those that are sitting on the committee, I didn't hear anything about bicyclists. Is that not a requirement?
Well, I would say representing all the roadway users. So, I mean, roadway users that, I mean, we have bicyclists, pedestrians.
Right, but
And so-
I'm asking is, why wouldn't one of the requirements be that you have somebody that, you make sure that you've got at least one or two bicyclists, people that ride bicycles?
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want members of the public that,
I think his
Staff-
question is, could one seat be designated,
That somebody, making sure that somebody
Bicyclist.
rides a bike.
which is
Now,
something that we could discuss as a
that's for
council.
you, that's,
But at this
But
point,
you're not having it in there, is what I was trying to get at. You're,
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how they would define that, but in any case, you had a wide range, but I think if I saw the resolution, doesn't have specifically a seat being a bicycle.
no,
advocate.
we did not designate seats, but we are looking for a broad makeup of the committee that includes bicyclists, pedestrians, hopefully elderly, to represent the needs of the different users of our roadway.
Okay, great. Any other questions, Councilmember Olbringer?
I'm just really curious why the recommendation is to include a motorist on a bike and pedestrian and safe routes to transit, as well as a civil engineer. Having served on the Planning Commission, there is no designation of, I mean, people don't have to be design professionals involved with developers, so why is this being recommended for this advisory body?
Well, the recommendation was just to provide some professional balance to it, but the makeup of the committee is up to the council. These were just recommendations.
Thank you.
So you were looking at just one design,
Just one,
kind of a
yeah,
design
design,
professional to provide some input, and they would be a community resident
Yeah,
or a business
everybody would
owner.
be a member of the community, whether they were residents or at the option of the council. If there aren't enough residents, somebody that is an employee.
Well, you've got,
here at
you've got
Concord.
the two,
It's up to
Up to
two,
two.
so the primary would be residents, and if there aren't enough interested people, then some flexibility to allow for folks that work here in Concord to participate in the committee.
was there some reason, I mean, I get that you wrote, represent a range of transportation interest, and when you use the word transportation, I think it has a different connotation in different people's minds as to what that means. It's
Okay.
the bus, it's,
It's the
A
bus,
car,
it's your
but-
feet, it's the bicyclist.
well, I don't know
Yeah,
that
so-
everybody thinks of
Okay.
a bicyclist and a pedestrian when they talk transportation. They're usually thinking four wheels, not two wheels and not their 2 feet. So if that was your intent in that wording, so basically you're including bicycle, pedestrian, and vehicle in that context,
It's the roadway users, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and sidewalk users.
that's correct.
Okay. Vice Mayor Brisson.
I'm more interested in the resolution as written. I know that the staff report says one thing, in the resolution you're saying 2 members may be employed in Concord and other things, but I intend to change all that. I find it very strange that if we're going to call this thing the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, that the staff report talks about motorists and whatever. The name of it is the Bicycle and Pedestrians, so we're going to be dealing with bicyclists and pedestrians. I would like to include tricyclists, which may be including me at a future point, but I think bicycle can imply that kind of stuff. So from my side, I'm focusing on the resolution more than the staff report, so I don't want to nitpick your staff report. You know, I'm not a big fan of editing staff reports. That's where my focus will be, so I'm not going to go over my questions on the resolution
Well, I would like,
until we get to the comment section for it.
well, just for
discussion.
clarification, your question, you said that you saw that there was I guess, a disconnect between the staff report and the resolution.
Yeah, it's somewhere, I think, in the staff report, it talks about motorists.
It's in here too. It's in the resolution where motorists are included.
I think that that's reference to the complete streets definition.
No, that includes all, it's creating a complete streets to provide blah, 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 which includes all those other categories. I mean, it also says children, but we're not including children in the committee,
Yeah, no.
although
the
we will
complete-
act childishly.
Yeah, that first whereas is an
whereas is
excerpt
just-
out of our complete streets
Yeah.
policy, which defines the complete street, that it's available, that
No,
it's
no.
intended for providing safe, comfortable, and convenient travel along and across streets through a comprehensive integrated transportation network that serves all categories of users, including
Okay.
everybody.
That's
you
almost like,
mentioned.
Yeah.
I hate to say,
That's
the-
verbatim out of the existing policy.
The motorist here is not.
yeah, so motors, that was all included in the document that we've already adopted.
That's
You're
correct.
just repeating it here in terms of the context in which the body will serve and kind of what their
That's
larger role is that they look at in terms of the context of all things that use the
road.
infrastructure of transportation and what our needs are as it relates to grants that come up, as it relates to bikes and pedestrian accessibility.
That's correct.
Now, when they make a recommendation, or when they review a grant request, Robert, what happens after the grant request is reviewed? Is that something that then comes to the council before it's sent somewhere?
Typically, the grant applications require some sort of resolution. So on tonight's calendar, in the consent calendar, there was the application for the TDA grant that we are submitting this week, now that you've approved it. We brought forward the concept of what we were planning to apply for to the Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Safe Routes to Transit Committee that was made available to us to review our grant application. We listened to input from the committee, made some modifications to our application, and brought it forward to the City Council with their recommendation.
So in the future, this body, when you bring a grant application proposal to them, they would vet it out, give you input, and then it would come back to us, and we typically see it like on a consent calendar
that would be
item, so that
correct.
you're authorized to then submit for those funds and whatever matching funds we're kind of
That is
putting our marker in place that, yes, if we get the grant, we're going to follow through with our commitment.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? I do have 4 or 5 speakers cards here. Okay, so we have no more questions of staff at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the public comment on this. And at